Hello, I'm Helen. Remember me? I'm back again, founder and CEO of Dr. Helen Holton and Associates, and the host of Dr. Helen Speaks. And I want to welcome you here today. As your strengths, resilience, and leadership coach, I help women like you to leverage your strengths, manage weaknesses, and build resilience to do and be a better you, your best you. So you may be thinking, what's your payoff? Well, it's increased performance, increased productivity, and prosperity potential. Or in business talk, profits. Yeah. It's the bottom line for you, your team, your organization, and how you show up and impact the world. The key ingredient is engagement. Now, I'm here to help you engage deeper and discover or further develop your unique path to more of what you really want for your life. I didn't get on this journey by happenstance, but I'm taking what I got from it and pouring it into you. I'll be the first to tell you it's not easy and it doesn't happen overnight. But if you stick with the journey, the outcome of living your best life ever on your terms is the reward. So I'm going to be here every Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time and 1 p.m. Eastern time, and whatever other time those two times correlate with in the world. Each week, I'll share with you from the wisdom of lived experiences and earned expertise that I've gained along life's journey. And it's my real honor and privilege to pay it forward through you. So if you're getting something out of this, share it with the people that you know that are near and dear to your life. Because along this journey, you'll hear from some dynamic women leaders who impact and influence women around the world, like you and me. So welcome to the Strengths, Resilience, and Leadership journey. If you're here, I know it's because you see or you want to be the leader that lives within you. Now, I begin each show with an attitude of gratitude. And when we're here together, I'm grateful for you and the vision of Paula Fellingham, founder and visionary leader of Win Win Women TV, with a goal to connect the 3.9 billion women on the planet for growth, motivation, inspiration, success, and community, because that's what we're building here. For me, engagement is the glue. That's what really makes life happen big. And engagement is all about relationships, how we support each other. Think about it. As women, we're the nurturers. We're the ones that really help people figure out what they're going to do, the go-tos, all of that. And this is about you, and it's about engagement and how you really can have engagement show up and support you. The relationships live at the core of everything we do, even the relationship we have with ourselves. Now, we're not here to complete tasks and check boxes on our to-do list. That's not a measure of accomplishment that really matters in the big scheme of things. No, what we're after here is that we want to help you tap into your greatest strengths and power. They live in our ability to connect and engage with each other. It's really how we make life happen for our success. So what am I saying with all of this? That engagement is really important. It's how I'm even here. And right now I got to give a big thank you to Norma Hollis for the invitation to join this network of like-minded women. Now, Norma leads the communication and connection channel that, as this rolls out, that's where this show, Dr. Helen Speaks, will be housed. The communication and connection channel is about three things. Number one, it's about self. Number two, it's about others. And lastly, about the universe. So what do I mean when I say this? When we talk about self, who are you? What's your life purpose? How clear are you about what you really want for your life. Now, I will tell you, I'm living in my 6th decade, and it's just taken me, less than 10 years to figure out what I really wanted for my life. But you know what? Once you do that, man, it's like you're unstoppable. You're on this journey, this path to get to where you want to be. Others. How do others see you and respond to you? Are you clear on that? What impact do you make? How would you describe your impact in 3 words? Now, I should have told you at the start of this, and I don't know why I don't say it at the beginning of every episode. Take out a pad and paper or something to make some notes, because I'm always dropping nuggets and people are saying, oh, Dr. Helen, how'd you come up? It just comes because I eat, sleep, and breathe it. I love it. Then there's the universe. The universe, this is the imprint that you make on the world. It is your unique impression that no one else can make but you. It's your mark that touches the hearts and minds of people in an unforgettable way. What is your imprint? Win-Win Women is here to help you identify, to use, maximize your unique it. Do you know what that is? If you do, make sure you prominently display it someplace so you won't ever lose sight of it, because those moments will come when you just feel like, why am I doing this? Yes, even those of us who live our best life ever have those moments. I think it's the perfect balance that keeps us going. So whether you want to refine your it, revise it, revel in it, the richness of it, my commitment is help you to do just that. At the heart of communication and connection is the ability to help you think more deeply. In this fast-paced world we're living in these days, thoughts are coming, things to do. How often do we stop and really focus on going deeper? That's part of what we're going to do when we're here. Think more deeply. Then, how can you communicate better? Through your experiences with confidence and conviction. It's interesting that those two go together, but they really do. And thirdly, to do differently through the demonstration of your determination to be your best you. So I'm showing up every week as your guide, your host, your coach, your connection, however you want to see this, but together we'll explore how you can leverage your strengths, manage weaknesses. Yes, we all have them. And newsflash, your weaknesses are never going to become your strengths. But when you learn to leverage your strengths, it helps you manage your weaknesses. And the last element is to build your resilience as a leader. That's right, build resilience, that thing that's going to keep you going in the times that don't seem like easy street. Truth be told, easy street is really overrated. If you're living on easy street, then there's some opportunities out there that you are missing and not getting the point. So these are all necessary elements of leadership growth and development with influence. And I've said it before, the shortest, most complete definition I ever received about leadership, I heard it from John Maxwell. He basically said, leadership is no more than influence. It's how many people follow you. If people aren't following you, you might want to ask yourself, am I really a leader or the leader that I think I am? So if you're ready to go, I am too. Let's do it. So last week, and I've been doing this series, this is part 4 of the series. Last week, we focused our discussion around the Hogan assessments system. And we also talked about the 360-degree multi-rater appraisal tool. Gave an overview of what they are and how they're most effective in the work environment. And I specify the work environment. Every assessment doesn't necessarily fit everything you are in life. But at the same token, if you really spend some time getting into it and understanding what it is, you'll find that we are whole people. If you think you can just section off of here and section off this and have your focus be in different areas at the same time, no, you want to get all of it because it's all you. So that's what we did there. But then we also talked about what it means for an assessment to be validated and reliable. And this is really important. And the next time someone says to you, oh, I want you to take this assessment. And in the work environment, you'll find that most assessments either end up as pre-employment, part of that, package of things they want you to do in advance. And that's to see if you're a good fit for their organization or their culture. Or they come as you've been tapped to move up in the organization. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, it's a wonderful thing to take an assessment and just see, who am I? Do I really know myself the way I think I do? And the assessment tools we've gone through are all validated and have been deemed reliable and undergo regular review and refinement to make them even better. So there are lots of assessments out there in the world. And I'm here to tell you, all of them are not validated and reliable. So when someone wants you to take an assessment, here's a question you might want to ask. Can you tell me how this assessment is validated and reliable? Now, don't be surprised if the person seems quite surprised that you asked such a question. But if they know what they're doing and have an understanding as to why they're doing it, they're going to either be able to give you an answer or direct you where you can get the best answer. So moving ahead, what will we think about today? Get your pen and paper ready. We're going to talk today about two of my most used and favorite leadership assessment tools. We're going to explore the Gallup CliftonStrengths assessment, formerly known as Strengths Finder, which I'm always telling people, no, it's not Strength Finders anymore. It's now CliftonStrengths assessment. Just a little word to the wise. And the Intercultural Development Inventory. Two very good tools. They're assessment tools. They do different things, but what I've found is that they really work well together in helping you understand who you are and how you see yourself, but also in how others see you and receive you. And so they both have value. Now, my practice as a strengths, resilience, and leadership coach, I only use validated and reliable assessment tools. Now, I've had clients come to me that have taken other assessments, and I always ask to see what they are and develop an understanding from them of how these tools are helping them in life. And what I've learned is that, going back to that question, sometimes we just take assessments because someone says, hey, I want you to take this assessment. Now you can show up with a little more intelligence about what it means to show up in that space and really understand how this instrument is going to help you with the person who wants you to take it. But more importantly, how is it going to help you be a better you? So, in addition to using validated and reliable assessment tools, I'm particularly interested in those with a conscious and focused awareness on the importance of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially in the space of talent acquisition or hiring and in leadership growth and development. As a Black woman born in America, in the South, before Jim Crow laws were abolished, I grew up with two kinds of education. The official education I got in public schools. I didn't grow up with wealth and attending private schools. And I shudder to think what that might have looked like when I was growing up. But the other, more impactful education for me was the legacy education I received from the elders in my family. It was the education that taught me what it means to be the other, the less than, the disenfranchised, and discriminated. Now, they may sound like things that you want to poo-poo on, but they taught me a reality about life, living it in the skin I'm in, and how to maneuver and use it for my good. And by the time I was starting to work professionally, it was, in the wave of affirmative action, and there were a lot of opportunities for minorities and women and other protected classes Latinx, though they were a very small percentage in the workforce then, not like they are today, but others. And so excellence, I grew up in a family that always demanded excellence. When I went off to college, I thought it was the natural progression that everyone did. You know, you graduate from high school, you go to college. Little did I know that was something unique to my family. And maybe it was unique to yours, but it certainly did not parallel the peers I grew up with, my friends in the neighborhood. They didn't necessarily grow up always having this notion that college was the next step before you entered the work of life, the life of work. Yeah, I guess they both are the same thing. So, as an adult, this is what I want you to know. It was a hard pill to swallow as a little girl, but as an adult, I understand that the struggle is real. Maybe even more so today. You know, I'm a news junkie, and there are times I just have to turn it off because it just seems so utterly ridiculous and divisive and polarizing, which is counter to everything that I believe, that we need each other. And the more we learn to support one another and appreciate the differences that we bring, the better off in life we'll all be. So let me bring this point home through a life lesson. I remember bringing home my very best report card ever in junior high school. Now, I was in an integrated school. That wasn't new. And I'd already learned that all students were not treated the same. Yet, I get to junior high school, and my mother decides that I'm going to be placed in college prep. What did that mean exactly? I wasn't quite sure, but when I got a look at my classes that first week of school, as a preteen, that was the last thing I cared about, to be set apart, to be separated from those people that were like me, i.e., it meant that I would be separated from my subculture within the dominant culture of my junior high school. Now, as a preteen, that's kind of a real downer. I was pretty much isolated, removed from who I thought would be my classmates, more of persons in the junior high school, bigger environment than my elementary school, that looked like me. Well, once again, I found myself the only Black child in my academic classes. Yeah, I remember that. What junior high school student is focused to understand or care about the reason for being put in classes that would make a difference down the road? I certainly wasn't. I didn't have the forward-thinking vision to understand what my mother was doing. So standing out like a sore thumb wasn't new. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be that person anymore, at least not to the extent I was experiencing it. Yeah, what do young people do when they don't like what's happening? We act out. That's right. And that's exactly what I did. And boy, did I pay for it. My first quarter grades were not my best, and my mother knew it. I paid the cost for my rebellion. I lost some privileges and picked up a few more chores. Now, I worked really hard that next quarter because, man, I didn't like what it meant living at home. School actually became, oh, I can't wait to go to school. At least I get to see people and hang out a little bit. But that next quarter, I was like, I got to get out of this reality I'm living. This was my moment of redemption and restoration for what I lost coming home without good grades. I had 4 A's and a B. Man, I can remember walking home so excited. I couldn't wait to get there, to get home and call my mom. You know, there were no cell phones and things of that nature then, and to share the great news, the fruits of my labor, and the end to my punishment. You know, my mom was the chief disciplinarian in our family. She was the one who didn't spare the rod, and she took the heat whenever we did things we shouldn't have done. On the other hand, it was my dad, the one who sat you down for a talk. I want you to know I was much better at taking my licks with the belt than a logical tongue lashing. The sting of the belt only hurt for a little while. The sting of the tongue lingered much longer with messages that have remained with me to this day. So what's the whole point of that story? Assessments are the same way. My mom looked at the report card and was, yay, and punishment ended. My dad looked at the report card and sat me down. And as he looked over, he grunted a little. And then he said, well, how come they aren't all A's? What happened? You're better than this. Two different reactions to the same report card. What did they have in common? They both challenged me to strive for excellence, to be my best. It's kind of like assessments. Depending on what you're after, helps you determine the best tool for you. So let's talk about the CliftonStrengths assessment. It was created by Don Clifton and initially launched in 1999. Now, if you remember the dates of the other tools we talked about in other episodes, and you can catch those, they're up on my channel, and you can catch those if you like. In 1999, Strengths Finders was launched. There were 18,700 some people who took the assessment that first year. It was introduced as an online assessment comprised of 177 comparative statements to be completed in less than an hour. You get 20 seconds to choose between the two comparative statements. And I promise you, it only took one or two of those to bypass me to say, okay, you know what? I can't mull over this. Let me just get something down and move on with it. It was that driver in me that I learned later after I got my results. The unique thing about this journey to discovery is that it helps you understand how you most naturally think, feel, and behave. And once you complete that assessment in less than an hour, it's like 59 minutes if you take 20 seconds on every question, it opens the door of what's revealed as your most dominant talent themes among the 34 themes that are presented in the CliftonStrengths. Well, in 2001, this assessment was paired with a book, and man, it just took off like wildfires. It was on the Amazon bestsellers list. It was everywhere. It is validated and reliable. It's been tested and tried a few times. And in 2015, they officially changed the name from CliftonStrengths Finder to the CliftonStrengths Assessment. And in 2018, they introduced their comprehensive report, because it used to begin, you kind of just got your top 5 and you'd have to go back and get some more, to a major piece of work known as the 34 report, or that's how I refer to it, the 34, but it's getting the whole granddaddy of everything. Because what I found is that more often than not, people would get those top 5 and they'd be like, well, where are the other 29? So I guess they call themselves fixing that. To date, do you know more than 26 million people on the planet have taken the CliftonStrengths assessment? From Fortune 500 companies to classrooms, with educators to individuals, executives, entrepreneurs, and emerging leaders in search of being their best self and succeeding in life. So that's the CliftonStrengths assessment. Let's move on to the IDI, or the Intercultural Development Inventory. Now, the IDI was originally created by doctors Mitch Hammer and Milton Bennett, psychologists, based on Bennett's developmental model of intercultural sensitivity. From the starting point, Mitch Hammer just was like enamored with this and continued to the research to formulate what is known today as a theory-based comprehensive developmental assessment of intercultural competence. That's a mouthful. That is not grounded in cognitive affective behavioral paradigm. All right, so that just goes to show, yes, I understand the psychology of it a little bit, but in the big scheme of things, he said, I'm making this a tool that's based more on validity and reliability, because what they found, a cognitive affective behavioral, or CAB paradigm, could not give you consistent results taken by people over time that would lend itself as a good tool to use for employers, institutions, things of that nature. Now, this is a discriminating factor that sets the IDI assessment apart from others that are not as heavily validated and reliable. Different from other tools, they may seem similar, but the IDI doesn't measure personal characteristics or traits. Every other tool we've talked about up until this point has done that. It's based on personality. This one isn't. The IDI is really focused on, it's one of the most widely used and effective tools for measuring intercultural competence. That's the formal term. What is it really? It's your cultural intelligence. It looks at how you experience and respond to cultural differences. And we all have them. You know, it begins with this assessment as your initial benchmark of where you are along the intercultural continuum that spans from a monocultural mindset, or a real single-minded way in which you see the world and how you respond to cultural differences. You pretty much don't, unless they're the ones that you hold true for you, all the way up to a multicultural or global mindset, which is the ability to adapt to other cultural environments without shifting or making or getting rid of your own in order to be in that space. So different from the CliftonStrengths assessments that you get your results back immediately, this one, you don't get your results until you are scheduled to meet with a qualified administrator, someone trained to debrief you on your results and help you understand what they mean and how to move forward along the intercultural development continuum. They both do that when you get that debrief, and both are assessment tools that you want to do with someone who is trained and understands how to make the most of your results, as I am. I love these two. The IDI reveals conscious and unconscious biases that you may hold about people who are different from you. It's designed to, once you have an awareness of this, to help you lessen your reliance on biased thinking to improve your cultural competence. How effective is that? Very effective. We all have biases, and bringing an awareness to them is the first step to help you identify, understand, and work towards eliminating them in your interactions and engagement with others is a big plus to your leadership development and growth. How do I know? Because I've used them. I still do today. It's like the never-ending journey of my life. We truly live in a local, global world today. And here at Win Win Women TV, we're reaching women all over the world. Differences range from simple to complex. Knowing where you are and how to respond to cultural differences matters to your success. And so all I can say to wrap this up is that I know the life I live today would not be possible without the push towards a more inclusive world. And living with a sense of belonging began long before any of us were here. It's the pioneers, those foot soldiers who laid it on the line as they traverse the battlefields of equity, justice, and inclusion. They've paved the way for you and I to be here as women, even with our cultural differences. So you see, there's room enough for all of our gifts to coexist in the world. In these modern times, I'm grateful for the less biased assessment tools and more inclusive ways to help us all reach for that brass ring with a sense of belonging. So through this series, we've laid the groundwork and foundation for leadership growth and development. And the bottom line is this: do you have the opportunity to do what you do best every day? My goal is to help you get there. I'm living my best life ever, and I want that for you too. So join Dr. Helen Speaks here on Win Win Women every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time and 1 p.m. Eastern time. And together, We'll help you live your best life ever, doing what you do best every day. Does that sound like a plan? Sounds like one to me. So what I want to say at this point is, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that you have chosen Dr. Helen Speaks to join us. And what I know is that